this is my second year here, so thank you again for inviting or accepting me here. My name is Alessandro. I work and live in New Zealand. I came from New Zealand. Lots of people came from lots of places, so thanks for all the speakers for being available to come here and do the presentation for all of you guys. Before we start, a little bit more about myself. So, as I said, I'm from New Zealand. This is a picture from Auckland on the left side. On the right side, you can see a sign that we have on top of the North Island. And in there, I don't know if you guys can see, but it says New Zealand from London is about 18,000 kilometers. So that's more or less how much I travel to be here. In the backdrop of the picture on the left, it's a volcano that exploded, I think, 500 years ago or so. So yeah, it's a very volcanic region. So, but it's a cool place to be. Don't need to be afraid. The session today is going to be about implementing security in your solutions using AIS. So that's pretty much what I'll be trying to cover. I will go through 3 topics more or less. So one is how to protect APIs. So how to make sure your APIs are properly secure. And only the people that have the need to have access to those APIs can have the visibility or even access those APIs. The second is how do you protect Azure resource. And I'm going to explain how to do that by using managed identities. Then we are going to go about a little bit with front door and also a little bit more doing network protections. I have two main objectives personally for me in this session. One is that you guys understand security capabilities for AIS. Second, that you know New Zealand. So those are my 2 main topics in this session. So this is a picture that we have. Who knows what is this picture from? That's good. Lord of the Rings, Hobbits. Okay. So that's a city we have is a city that was built specifically for that movie, and that city is still there. So if you guys want to go and visit, you can just go right through to Hobbiton, and you are going to be able to navigate on the scenery, okay? Because my topic is security, I thought that was appropriate to say, if you don't have a business with my company, with my solution, you cannot have access. So that's the reason for this picture. Speaking how can we, what we have in terms of security in our solutions when we install those services, logic apps, API management, service bus, function apps, and so on. Out of the box, we can call out of the box, most of the time it's going to be SaaS keys. So you have a SaaS key for your workflows that you did with HTTP connectors in logic apps. You have SaaS keys for service bus. You have API keys for function apps. You have API keys for API management. And for Key Vault specifically, we normally do with the identities. But that's more or less what we have out of the box. That's normally not enough. So we have some protection, we have some security, but if those keys, they are lost, someone have access to them, they are going to be able to call your systems, and we want to increase a little bit more the security of our solutions, okay? Sorry. When we are in this let's call it journey, so we are going through the process of designing a solution, making sure it meets all the functional and non-functional requirements, and security is one of them. It's a process we need to go through and make sure that we achieve everything that needs to be achieved on that solution. And security is a very important part of it. Sometimes, some companies and some projects, they are going to not focus too much on that. It's going to focus more on the functional side. So what I'm trying to do here is, okay, I have this solution that I built, it's working, but it's not secure enough. So what can we do to protect a little bit more without going all the way to implement the highest security possible? So Dan showed in this morning, how can we do that using the lens zone for integration? But that means you have to do like a lot of services. You have a cost that is going to be added to your solution that maybe you don't want. So what I'll try to do is to say, okay, instead of going all the way to the lens zone and using all of that and spending like all that money, maybe if you do like just those bits, you're going to be secure enough. But as usual, like, you know, it's a trade-off we need to do, like how much the company wants, how much you are willing to do. So that's the, let's call architecture that I want to focus. I have the API management as my main API gateway, and I'll be exposing services in logic apps, functions, and even communicating with Service Bus and Key Vault. So that's pretty much what we are going to be focusing here. Before I start, who uses only API keys or SaaS keys today in terms of security? So whenever you have the communication between API management, logic apps, who only uses the SaaS keys? Oh, that's pretty good. You guys are doing a really good job. Okay. Yeah, I was expecting a little bit more than that, but that's okay. So those are the security options we have. So we have the API keys, SaaS keys, Azure AD, OAuth, applying virtual network configuration, private endpoints, service endpoints, and so on and so forth. So that's how can we apply the security in our solutions. This is what I'll be trying to focus my session today. Okay? So the first thing we need to protect is APIs. So API is going to provide to us that single pane of glass, so a unified view of all the APIs we have in our environment. So it's very important that this first thing that you are exposing in your company, they are very, very protected, okay? So we need to give the right visibility level for the API. So we are only exposing APIs for those that really need the access to those APIs. So we are going to do like configuration of products, making sure my users is going to be available in only the products that they need access to. The other thing we're going to do, we're going to use Azure AD. So Tum mentioned this in the morning. So instead of you trying to do like your own OAuth identity server, you just leverage something that is widely available, and why not Azure AD, okay? So we're going to protect APIs using OAuth and Azure AD, and we are going to even do a little bit more. So when Tum opened like the JOT token, you guys saw a section that was called roles. So you specify exactly what that identity can do in your systems. And you configure that, you know, the way you want, or the way you need in API manager. So we are going to apply this fine-grained access control. And if we need like a little bit more, we can do front door, application gateway, to give us a little bit more protection. So as I mentioned, the single pane of glass. So this is just something that I built for this. We have these APIs that I am exposing in my system, in my solution. And that provides like the whole view of what an administrator can manage in terms of APIs. I tend to use this type of categorization of APIs because it helps me to understand who needs to have access to those things. So I have like 3 more or less categories that I use: system, process, and client. Client means like it's for external people from my company. System is like the APIs that communicates directly with the system of records, JDE, SAP, whatever it might be. Process is normally like a kind of aggregator. Again, referring to sessions, he did a little bit more with in terms like using GraphQL and doing the orchestration bit, but just by using GraphQL. In here, because I'm just using REST, I have to build those APIs myself for specific scenarios. Because I have this single pane of glass provided by API management, I have like lots of logging capabilities, lots of metrics that I can retrieve from my API management. So for example, here, this is the numbers that I got from the production environment, from the company that I work today. So it's telling like how much capacity is consuming right now. It's telling how many gateway requests that I have in a specific time range, backend requests, how many errors. So at the top here, I had 5 errors, which is kind of okay, I guess. So sometimes errors happen, so that's fine. Duration is not so good. So in my backend, we use JDE. JDE tends not to behave so well sometimes. But you know, at least you have the metrics, at least you know where things are going and where you need to improve if possible. In our case, it was not possible. Yeah, a little bit more in terms like what kind of information that single pane of glass that API management can provide to you. I'm just showing like just a little bit. There's a lot more information that you can get from API management. We go and say, for that particular API, how many requests I have for that particular process, what is the average time for the execution of that process, and try to come up like with ways to improving the performance of that solution. In terms of the right visibility level, I'm talking specifically about the developer portal. So when the developers, they go to the developer portal, what can they see, right? So can they see like everything? When we go to the out-of-the-box configuration for AP, we have starter, unlimited, and guests. So do you leave guests available? So whoever have access to your endpoint, in case to your API management endpoint, can they see like all the APIs? Is that something you really want to do? So normally we change that a little bit, and we don't leave the visibility open to whoever have access to them. And that goes to something that Dan said, right? So the least possible access that someone can have in our system is what we want. So you don't expose everything. If that person doesn't know something exists, so maybe you're a little bit more protected than like leaving everything open. So here is about how we configure authentication API. I'm showing 2 credentials that I set. One is the API credential, is the process itself. The second one is the client. So what normally we do is that we go to Azure AD, we create a service principal, and we specify this is the service principal, in this case, for my system API. So my system API have an identity. And when I do that, I can specify also roles, which like this API can have. I can have read operations, I can have write operations, I can even go like more granular than that if I want, okay? So we specify what the API can do. Then on the other side, on the right side, you're going to see that I have my client credential, and I specify, okay, that credential have access to my airline system API only for the, I don't know what I put here, only for the write operation or only for the read operation. Okay? So we can specify this kind of granularity on my systems, and this show how we do the configuration in API management. So we have the validation of the scope, which is the API itself, and we have the validation of that particular claim that if the credential that is coming to that request is not going to have access. So that's normally how we protect our APIs on a more granular level. Products is about like how do you group those APIs. So I have system APIs, I have process APIs, I have client APIs. How am I going to expose that? I can expose just by saying, okay, internal developers are going to have access to those APIs, external developers are going to have access to those other APIs. Or I can have domain related APIs. So I have everything that I need for my booking process, and then that's what the developer is going to have access to. So I can do this type of definitions. So I'm trying to show here exactly that. Yeah, it's not going to show. So I'm trying to show here exactly that, which is, shows the booking domain APIs, external APIs, process, and system APIs. Okay? So the first thing that I want to do, I have 3 demos. Hopefully I can get through all of them today. The first one, I'm just showing this picture because it's the easiest demo that I have today. And this is the easiest place you can go because the car park is about 500 meters. So you just park, walk there, and you have like this beautiful scenery you can see. So I just want to switch here. Just a sec. So if I go here, let's close those guys. So the first thing I want to show is that I have, that's what the slides have shown to you guys. I have my APIs classified what they can do. But if you go into the configuration of those APIs, we are going to be able to see that each one of them is classifying one or more products. So this one in particular is classifying on the system APIs. And if I switch here to the products, those are the products that I have defined for my system. As you guys can see, I don't have guests there because in my particular scenario, this fictitious scenario, I don't want like anyone that doesn't have access to be able to see anything here. Okay? So I just use those things. What I do is that I define groups, specify, okay, what those groups are, and I assign users to those groups, assign them to the groups to the products, and that's how I'm going to have the access that I need. This is the view that I have in the developer portal as an administrator, so I can see like pretty much everything. This is the view that I can have as the domain user. So for the booking process, I can only see that this API. As internal developer, I can see like all the system and process APIs. And as the external developer, I can only see this product client API. So I can define exactly what I want each developer to be able to see. Okay? And all of that is done through pretty much out-of-the-box things that comes in the developer portal. I didn't have to build like anything special. I just used the features that were here. To facilitate my life, I use like internal users for API management, so they are not connected to Azure AD, but you can pretty much use Azure AD for that developer portal experience as well. The other thing that I want to show is the authentication. So if we switch to this one, let's start here, and let's go to my thing. So those APIs, because I wanted to be like, as I guess fast as possible developing this, and we don't need to be too concerned with the backend is going to do. I'm just doing a response from here. So that's my way of facilitating my life. And what I'm doing, can you guys see here? It's good? Okay. So what I'm doing here is saying, okay, this is my validation of the token that I'm receiving. And when that token comes, I have one thing before that. Let me just switch here to a sec. So yeah, that's the thing that I'm doing. So what I'm doing here in this part of the policy is to say, okay, I need that whoever token is coming in this request, that it needs to be done on a specific API credential or that I define in Azure AD. So when I request the token, I need to specify, I want the scope of that token to be based on that particular API that I want to access. So if I receive, even if I receive like a valid job token from another account that doesn't have this right scope, it's not going to pass because I'm doing this validation. Normally for those things I return with 401. When I do the granular access, I do the validation of the rows, which is this guy here. So each one of my API is going to have one or more of these rows, and I'm going to say the credential needs to have access to that, so I can see this. Let's do a quick call just to see how that works. So what I need to do, let's get us an example of this API. I will renew, no, I'm going to delete the entire environment because so far, because I'm using API management premium, I think I'm using Service Bus Premium. That's costing me like a fortune in my subscription, so I'm going to shut it down like as soon as we finish this talk. So don't mind about the credentials being widely available here. So what I do here, I specify like what is the credential, what is the scope that I want to access. So I get the token, and if I use tools like this guy here, I should be able to see what is in there, which is going to tell me that I have this audience, that is the credential of my API, and it's going to tell me what kind of access this guy have. Okay? Which means that when I go and try to call the actual API operation by using that guy, because I store this in a variable, so it's just make my life easier, I will have access, be able to go all the way through the endpoint. So my booking ID, you guys can see there. So just to be sure that I'm capturing your attention, what is the booking ID? So I love being in London. I really like to be here, but maybe next time we can do somewhere else. Just saying, just saying. We have like lots and lots of services in Azure. As I'm showing this picture of Milford Sound, we have like lots of mountains there, so we can take a boat and navigate like all the way to the ocean through those mountains. We also have lots of services in Azure. We need to be able to protect those that are part of our solutions, okay? So then show like a page, I don't know how many were there, but 50, 100, I don't know, a lot, okay? So we need to be able to protect them. The easiest way, I would say, is just use, if you can, use managed identity. It's much, much simpler. So you create your managed identity credential, and then you just specify, okay, this is the identity that I want to use in my connections. So not using SAS keys or API keys. So that's pretty much what I'm saying in this slide. There's no extra cost. You can use system assign, or you can use user assign. I like to use user assign because I don't like giving, each company has their own ways, of course, but in my particular scenario, I have like lots of services. I like to create like one identity for the environment. And then internally, I allow that communication to happen between my services. You can do it systems assign, but when you do like that, each one of them you need to configure your RBAC to be using those particular ones. So it's a question of choice. Maybe you have like more security requirements that I have, and you want to split a little bit more. Maybe you want to split by domain. That's possible as well. It's just like, I guess, a choice you have. Let me just, no, I'll go through here, then I show in Azure AD. When you work with service principals that you go to the app registrations and you do yourself, you can list them in Azure AD. You can see all of that. So you can go specify, okay, for these clients that I'm configuring, I want write permission for this API, read permission for this other API, and so on. With managed identities, as far as I know, it's not possible. So you need to work with PowerShell or Bash scripts to be able to get the IDs of those credentials, and you specify, okay, I want to give the access for my clients to consume those APIs, okay? So this command here, I'm just showing that these variables, OID for MI, server, SPOID, and role git, is specifying what is the thing that I'm trying to consume, what is the managed identity, what is the managed identity credential, what is the thing that I'm trying to consume, and what is the permission that I'm trying to give. So I just execute like this AZ REST command to give that access. We had a problem a couple months back where those permissions were taking up to 24 hours to be applied. I don't think that's valid anymore because I was doing this in the hotel room and it was working quite fast. So I think that restriction is not happening anymore. But anyway, just in case you guys should be aware, a couple months back, we had to set like one day and test the next one, okay? So just be mindful of that. For logic apps, the configuration process is a little bit different from others. So if I want to do like the managed identity configuration for service bus, for example, I go to the RBAC section, I open whatever configuration I want, I find the managed identity, and I say, you have access. Whatever access I want to give. Sender, receiver, manager. So that's completely done through the UI. For logic apps standard, that's not possible yet. Okay? So in the one of the final slides, I have like the reference. There's a video that Kent did, I think it was last year. He shows like a little bit how you need to follow, but pretty much what you need to do, you need to go to this API. You need to specify payload, telling like what is the credentials and what you want to do, and then you execute this command to give the access you want to give for logic apps by saying, okay, that this managed identity is going to have access to my workflow. Okay. When you do that, it doesn't remove the SaaS key configuration. It doesn't remove like that access, so you can do like one way or the other. If you don't want to have the SaaS key available at all, you apply this filter on your HTTP trigger. It's going to be pretty much saying, okay, yeah, if you do that, I'm not going to be accepting this request. Okay. That's the payload that I was talking about. So you specify what is the, you need to find this value that normally you find through jot.ms or jot.io. What is the client ID, and what are the identities that you want to have access to your system. There's a configuration somewhere, I don't think it's showing here, but there's a configuration somewhere that tells if you allow unauthenticated requests coming through. The configuration that was given by Kent and by the technical documentation by Microsoft to allow that to happen, because then internally you can check and return a proper response. If you don't do that, this guy here is going to reject, and the message is going to be a little bit strange. So allow the unauthenticated to come through, and you do like extra validation. Yeah, I just like jumped a little bit. For service bus, you can do like the same configuration. I think I have the wrong slide. Oh, sorry. This is the thing I was talking about, service bus. So you go to service bus and you specify what is the managed identity that I want to use. I want to use the user assign. I want to use the system assign. And I specify which one I'm going to give the access. So the next one is going to tell you exactly what I'm doing in terms of configuration. So my managed identity is going to have access to this queue that I specified. This next picture is about a lake that we have in Rotorua. You cannot swim. It's dangerous if you do that, I guess. I don't think it's going to be safe. It's too hot, and I think the composition of the water is not good, the pH or something like that, okay? So that's because I'm trying to do a little bit more complex demo right now, so that's why I put like a more dangerous picture. So let's talk about managed identity protection. If I go here, sorry. So let's, I don't have a particular one for that. I just mixed and match. But I think this is a very good one to show. So I have this workflow where I receive the request, and I'm trying to call this other API that I built in launch caps, this workflow that I built in launch caps, and I'm passing through a managed identity. So the only thing that I need to do is click here, manage identity, find the one you want. Can be like the system assigned for that launch caps, can be a custom one that you built before, doesn't matter. And then you specify what is the scope. That's pretty much what you need to do. As long as your configuration that we did manually before with that AZ command was set before, you are going to have access to it. Okay? Right. So I will try, let's use this guy here. So if I try to use a credential that have access to it, I'm going to obtain the token. Then I'm going to make the call to that API. Important to note, if you look like at the address that I have in that launch caps, it doesn't contain the signature identity. So I'm just relying pretty much on the managed identity or authentication. If I make the request, because I'm using the right credential, it's coming back. I should have said something like integration. Is that 2024? Yeah. Just came with hello, this one. If I try to use the wrong credential, so this credential does not have the configuration in Azure AD to allow that request to go through. So I'm going to get the token, and I'll try to call the API again. It's going to say, no, you can't, because I configured to be that way. And because I configured also in that launch caps, again, still doing like, oh no, sorry. This time I'm trying to use the signature, the SAS key access, but I configured that filter to not allow that to happen. So if I make the call, it's coming back with a 400, say, yeah, you can't.
Does that still, because your launch caps have like the management endpoint behind them as well, does that also affect that, just out of curiosity?
I'm doing like specifically per launch caps, not per workflow, but I do that for the launch caps. So the management that stands behind is specifically for one launch caps. I cannot do that, as far as I know, per workflow. Cool. Okay. So here I'm just showing that I'm using these possibilities. And before I forget, so I'm showing like to you guys like all these cool pictures. And then moving on, so you're going to have access to those slides, of course. But in case you want to have access yourself, this API is open. I left it open on purpose because I want you guys to see more pictures about New Zealand, of course. You just need to remember like what is the subscription key, and you need to try fast because again I'm going to shut this down very fast. But you should be able to call. There's no auth or nothing here. As long as you have the API key, you're going to be able to call. It's going to have like send you all this address. And you can see that first picture that I spoke about, Auckland. I don't know how the internet's going to cope with a few megabytes image. But maybe it's going to load, maybe not. Yay. So that Auckland picture. And I have the Hobton, Milford. There's one, no, I think I'm going to pass through all of them. But again, for those that want to try yourself, just need to call this endpoint with this subscription key. So you have 5 seconds, and it's gone. But there are, okay, before I even say like what I was going to say, who recognized this mountain, specifically that first one in the middle? What is it?
Is that Mount Doom?
Exactly. That's Mount Doom from Lord of the Rings. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more beautiful, I guess, than the movie. But like the backdrop of that scenery, you see like, what is the name of the bad guy, I forgot the name? Sauron, yes, exactly. So that backdrop with the mountain exploding, that's of course, they did some CGI on top of that. There are many dangers out there. So we did some protections. So we apply OAuth. Let me just see how I'm going with time. We did apply OAuth. We did apply like a few things like manage identity, but there are many things that can happen. So you can use other tools to allow you to be a little bit more safer. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna cover right now. So you can apply front door, you can apply web application firewall, you can apply application gateway. Again, like it's the choice that you are going to have to make. Be mindful that depending what you choose is going to cost you a little bit more or a little bit less or a lot more actually. Okay, so whenever you're talking about VNet, you have to work with premium services. API management premium that we learned today that is $2,800 US. Service bus premium. Logic apps is okay because the logic apps have like a WS 1, 2, and 3 that is not so expensive, but like a lot of the services you need to go premium to be able to use that. So yeah, please take that into consideration. See, all the things that I showed to you guys so far is enough for you in terms of protection. Maybe you should stick with that or not. It's a decision that the components needs to make together with you. So once you have front door, you do I'm just showing like quickly like the configuration for front door. Once you have front door, you configure the API management endpoint. That's pretty much what's going to protect. And you apply WAF to do those protections. I think Nino mentioned like a few WASP, top 10. So it's going to protect some of them. And you can even customize if you want. But pretty much you're just exposing your API through API management. If you are not using networking, you can do this, let's call a trick, where you say, I only accept in my API management requests that are coming from this front door that I own. Okay, so it's a, I guess, quick and cheap way of making sure you don't receive requests. You can even use like IP ranges. So front door comes from specific ranges. You can also specify, I only accept requests coming from those IP ranges, okay? And that's if you don't have everything in the network. If you have like everything in the network, you should be able to do something like the one below, which specifies your backend communication with an internal VNet address. So in this scenario, I'm trying to configure my logic apps to be using like only the VNet, which means that I'm blocking any access from external access to the logic apps, and needs to be gone through the VNet, so that's how you do the configuration in API management. This picture that I'm trying to show is like, you have like this beautiful land zone, I guess. So you use like all the services, all the premium tiers, so you have like all that working beautifully. So that's why I'm showing Queenstown, because probably is one of the most beautiful cities that we have in New Zealand, in my perspective, of course. I'm going to show you two demos. Front door and VNet. If I switch here, so that's the configuration that I have showing, okay, I have my API management going through that. Okay, oh, almost. Sometimes this is a developer, so sometimes the developer kind of crashes. Hopefully, it was not this time. Okay. So what I have here is pretty much, I just added like a quick configuration for allowing the front door only to go through. So that's exactly what I did. So this is the ID of my front door. So you know, even if you guys knows the address of my API, and you can try to configure to go through my public endpoint, because I'm validating only that particular front door, I'm not going to go through. And if I make a call here on that, sorry, I'm just trying to remember what I did. Post going through. front door. So this is the front door address. So don't know if you guys noticed, but that address is different from the API management address. So I'm going through front door, and then my API is working as expected. One more change that I missed to do the integrate and Z 2024. Okay, but again, I keep reminding you guys about that. This is me trying to go through directly to API management. Is not going to allow because I'm validating. If the request is not coming through front door, I will not allow. This is an API that I haven't done like any kind of validation. So that's going to be going through. So the configuration that I did was specifically on the operation. We are not doing that. So if I want a front door protection, I will probably go here. Our API. So I'm going to protect everything. I don't need to be doing like operation by operation. If I want that protection just in certain products, you can go and apply the policy on that particular product. This demo, I'm going to be honest with you guys, is not working. Theoretically, I did everything right. But there's something that is not working, so if unless it fixes by itself, like kind of magic, Sauron magic or something like that. But right now, if I try to make a call to this operation through front door, it's not working. And I don't know why. Maybe I just woke up like the wrong foot today. But the configuration is pretty simple. I'll try to show you guys. I have my logic apps work inside of the VNet. You guys can see here that I have the IP address for that that particular logic apps. So if I'm trying to make a call on that from my API management, I should be able to do just that. Instead of the the standard pass address, I'm just going to pass like the local address inside of my VNet, and I should be able to have access. For whatever reason that I don't know, and I cannot explain today live, it's not working, but it's supposed to work, okay? So it's not that complicated, and as I mentioned, like there's lots of documentation explaining to us what needs to be done. So again, I am an integration architect. I know a tiny bit on how to make things work for me, but I'm not specialist like in any sense in terms of security. Probably needs much more than a lot of us, but so probably I need some help from people helping with setting up properly the VNet. I didn't do like any separation by subnets. I just used like a single subnet, try to do like everything at once. So maybe that's why it's not working. But anyway, the resources are here. You guys can use for your reference. I think that's about it. So this is the last picture I'm going to show you guys. So this is one of the ski fields that we have in New Zealand. This is in North Island. It's the same place as I showed the Mount Doom, still like the same area. So, but we don't ski on Mount Doom. We ski in this other one. And the takeaways for this session is, first, hopefully I could show to you guys that what are the options we have in terms of applying security to our AIS solutions, and hopefully, I don't want to say more or less, but hopefully I kind of intrigue you guys to maybe go and pay a visit, and maybe send a few emails to Saravana, I don't know, asking, what if you go to New Zealand? So security is an everyday practice. You should be able to think about that and improve your solution as much as you can. So sometimes the business is going to pressure to deliver something. Try to do that in a safe way, of course, but like always keep like ways, techniques to protect your solutions even more. So we have like the land zone being published like a few months ago. So that's a very good help because before we had to do like everything by ourselves. Microsoft Defender for APIs is available. I think it's preview right now. So you should be able to use that to find problems in your architecture and work through them. You don't need to do like everything at once. do bit by bit, but always trying to secure more and more your solutions. And I hope you guys like the New Zealand pictures. With that, these are my social contacts. I have my blog post, which is kind bare lately, Twitter, and my LinkedIn account. So whoever wants to get in touch, please do so. And this, normally I do talks talking about my football team in Brazil. I decided to change a bit, but this is my football team in Brazil. It's called Corinthians. It was originally made from Corinthians here in England. But again, the best football team in the planet. Maybe you disagree a bit, but yeah, that's okay. That's what I have for you guys today.